If you look through an old family photo album from the 1960s or 70s, you'll likely find a specific kind of photograph. It usually features a man in a crisp suit, perhaps standing next to a cake in a wood-paneled break room. He's smiling, surrounded by coworkers he's known for 30 years. In his hand, he holds a small velvet-lined box containing a gold watch. That watch wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was a trophy. It was the final seal on a lifelong contract of mutual loyalty. In that era, the golden years weren't a question mark, they were a guarantee. You gave the company your youth, your energy, and your dedication, and in exchange, the company gave you a defined benefit. For the generation that built the mid-century American miracle, retirement had a fixed anchor. You knew with mathematical certainty that on the day you retired, a check would arrive in your mailbox every single month for as long as you and your spouse were alive. It was the pension. It was a pool of money managed by professionals, funded by the company, and protected by law. In the golden age, the risk of retirement sat squarely on the shoulders of the corporation. If the stock market crashed, that was the company's problem. If inflation ticked up, the company had to adjust. If you lived to be 100 years old, the company had to keep paying. The worker's only job was to show up, do the work, and stay loyal. Retirement wasn't something you played like a game of poker. It wasn't something you checked on a smartphone app with a racing heart every time the Dow Jones dipped. It was a silent, sturdy foundation that allowed you to focus on your family, your hobbies, and your community. But as we look at that gold watch today, we realize it represents a world that has been systematically dismantled. The fixed anchor has been cut loose, and the American worker has been pushed out to sea in a small rowboat, told to navigate the treacherous waters of Wall Street all on their own. How did we get here? How did a guaranteed lifelong income become a high-risk DIY experiment? To find the truth, we have to look into the dusty archives of 1978 at a stealth law that was never intended for you, but ended up changing your life forever. The death of the pension didn't happen with a bang. There was no national debate, no grand televised announcement, and no vote by the American people to trade their security for choice. Instead, the heist began in the fine print of the Revenue Act of 1978. Deep within that tax bill sat a seemingly boring provision, Section 401k. At the time, nobody thought Section 401k was a revolution. In fact, it was originally designed as a tax loophole for high-level corporate executives. It was a way for the C-suite to take a portion of their massive year-end bonuses and shield them from the IRS in a deferred savings account. It was never, ever intended to be the primary retirement vehicle for the American middle class. But in the early 1980s, a benefits consultant named Ted Benna realized something that would change corporate history. He saw that this little-known provision could be applied to all employees. For the American corporation, this was a eureka moment. For decades, pensions had been a massive liability on their balance sheets. A pension is a debt that the company owes its workers forever. It's expensive, it's risky, and it's a drag on quarterly profits. When the 401k arrived, the accountants saw a way out. They realized they could freeze the expensive pensions and replace them with a defined contribution plan. They told the workers it was about freedom and portability. They said, now you can take your retirement with you if you change jobs. Now you can choose your own investments. You're in the driver's seat. It sounded like empowerment, but in reality, it was the greatest risk transfer in economic history. By shifting from the pension to the 401k, the corporation moved the burden of retirement from their balance sheet to yours. Suddenly, if the market crashed, it wasn't the company's problem, it was your problem. If you picked the wrong mutual funds, it was your fault. If you outlived your savings, that was your misfortune.
The companies stopped being protectors and started being contributors. They'd give you a small match, wish you luck, and leave you to navigate the most complex financial markets in human history with nothing but a brochure and a prayer. The stealth revolution of 1978 replaced the guaranteed check with a statistical hope.
For a while, the heist was hidden by a stroke of historical luck. In the 1980s and 90s, the American stock market entered one of the greatest bull runs in history. As the first generation of workers moved into 401ks, they saw their balances skyrocketing. It felt easy. The 401k didn't look like a trap. It looked like a lottery ticket that everyone was winning. The media branded this the ownership society. We were all investors now. We all sat around dinner tables talking about tech stocks and mutual fund returns. During this era, the flaws of the 401k were masked by double-digit returns. The corporations were quietly closing their pension doors, and the workers didn't mind because their paper wealth was growing so fast. But this was the great illusion. The system worked as long as the market only went up. But as we entered the new millennium, the archaeology of the 401k began to reveal its cracks. First came the dot-com bust. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. For millions of Americans nearing retirement, these weren't just market corrections, they were life sentence events. We saw people in their late 50s see their retirement accounts cut in half in a matter of months. In the pension era, those workers would have been fine. Their monthly check would have remained unchanged. But in the 401k era, they were devastated. They had to push back their retirement dates by 5, 10, or 15 years. They became the working retired. This revealed the fundamental flaw of the 1978 heist. It ignored sequence of returns risk. If the market crashes right before you retire, you lose. It's a matter of timing and luck, not hard work and loyalty. The 401k turned the dignified end of a career into a game of market roulette. Furthermore, the 401k introduced a new predator into the retirement ecosystem, the fee. In a pension, the costs are institutional and low. In a 401k, you are often buried in expense ratios, administrative fees, and management loads. Over a 30-year career, these seemingly small percentages can eat up to 30% of your total nest egg. The heist wasn't just in the transfer of risk, it was in the creation of a multi-billion-dollar fee machine that feeds on the American worker's savings. Now, as we move into 2026, we are facing the final, most dangerous layer of this economic archaeology, the longevity trap. In the golden age, the company took on longevity risk. If you lived to be 95, the pension fund had to make sure the money didn't run out. They used actuarial science to pool the risk of thousands of people. But in your 401k, you are an actuary of one. You have to guess exactly how long you will live. If you spend too much in your 70s, you might be destitute in your 90s. If you spend too little, you live a life of unnecessary frugality, afraid to touch the money you worked 40 years to save. This is the psychology of scarcity that the 401k has forced upon the American retiree. The 401k is a great tool for accumulation, putting money in, but it is a terrible tool for decumulation, taking money out. Most people reach retirement with a pile of money, but they have no idea how to turn that pile into a stream of income. This is compounded by the Social Security squeeze. As the government debates the future of the trust fund, the 50-plus demographic is being squeezed from both sides. The corporate pension is gone, and the social safety net is under fire. We are living in the era of individual responsibility, which is often just a polite way of saying you are on your own. We see the golden years being replaced by the side hustle era, where retirees are forced into the gig economy to supplement their fluctuating 401k balances. The heist that began in a tax loophole in 1978 has reached its logical conclusion. The American dream of a secure, guaranteed retirement has been replaced by a market-linked survival plan. We have traded the gold watch for a fluctuating line on a graph. So, where does this leave us? If the fixed anchor has been cut, how do we navigate the storm? As economic archaeologists, we don't just dig to find the tragedy, we dig to find the old rules that still work. The 401k heist happened, but you can still build your own fortress of income if you change your mindset. First, you must shift your focus from net worth to income stream. Wall Street wants you to obsess over the total number in your account. But you can't eat a number. You need to focus on how much cash that account produces every month, regardless of what the market does. This means looking at dividend growth investing. By owning dividend aristocrats, companies that have paid and raised their dividends for 25 years or more, you are essentially creating your own private pension. You are focusing on the check, not the stock price. Second, consider the modern annuity as a tool for risk transfer. The word annuity has been given a bad name by high-fee salesmen, but at its core, a simple immediate or deferred income annuity is just a way to buy back the pension your company took away. It is a way to move the longevity risk back to an insurance company, ensuring that you can never outlive your money. Third, you must audit the fees. In the 401k world, every decimal point matters. Moving from an actively managed fund with a 1% fee to a low-cost index fund with a 0.05% fee can add 5 or 10 years of life to your retirement account. Don't let the fee machine take its cut of your legacy. The gold watch era is a memory. We can't force the corporations to bring back the pensions of 1965. The world of sound money and lifelong loyalty has been replaced by a world of fiat and personal responsibility. But by understanding the stealth revolution of 1978, you regain the power. You stop being a consumer of financial products and start being a manager of your own private endowment. Retirement shouldn't be a gamble. It should be a reward. It should be the time when the fixed anchor of your hard work finally allows you to rest. Use this golden age insight to stop playing the markets game and start building your own guaranteed future. Before we go, I want to hear from you. Did you have a pension that was frozen or taken away? Or are you part of the first generation that had to rely entirely on a 401k? Share your story in the comments below. Let's expose the heist and help each other build something better. Thank you for watching the Golden Age Insight.